You relieved?
Yes. I'm happy. I love her. That's my little world right there.
Good. That's exactly the way it should be. And I'm happy that we could get clarity for Paisley and for you both in this relationship. And I will say this earnestly.
Hi class. We're going to create some pseudocode and a flowchart for one of the problems, the programming problems at the end of chapter 3. So I want to look at problem number 1. Prompt for input a saleswoman's sales for the month in dollars and her commission rate as a percentage. Output her commission for that month. Note that you will need to convert the percentage to a decimal. You will need the following variables: sales amount, commission rate, and commission earned, and you will need this formula. The first thing I want to create is an IPO chart. Your IPO chart is not required for the assignment, but it's a nice thing to help us with. I'm going to switch my layout to landscape so that I can run my input, processing, and output across the top. On my home screen, I'll go ahead and insert a line shape. And another. And one more. Hopefully my lines are somewhat straight. And now with Word, the way I've got these lines set up, I'm going to have to use my insert menu and put in some text boxes. So I'll just grab a text box here and I'll draw a simple text box for input. And I'll move that. And then I'll do another text box for processing. Last one, insert text for output. Oops, I don't want to resize it. I want to move it. So my IPO chart then, my input process, if I split my screen, made it really mad. I want to get back to the programming assignment that I was looking at. So my inputs here are going to be the sales amount and the commission rate. So I will insert a text box down here. And I need for input sales amount and commission rate. Commission rate is kind of a hard one to spell, so be careful with that one. Now for our processing, we just need to put in our formula. So again, I'll insert a text box. I know Word isn't very friendly with this, but we can handle it. Now for this text box, I want my formula. Commission earned equals sales amount times, within parentheses, our commission rate divided by 100. I'm going to expand this just a little bit. So there's our formula. That's our only processing here for this application. And then our output, we could specify as much or as little data as we wanted for our output. We know that they want for sure to see the commission earned. So I'll insert one last text box. And this will be for my output. And all I need here is my commission earned. And I'll move that over to my output. Okay, so here's my IPO chart for this application. Word makes it a little bit more difficult than it needs to be, but we know that we have input, processing, and output. We have our sales amount and commission rate as inputs. We have our formula and our output. I could save that. I'll save it to my OneDrive. My 120 folder. And of course I have a folder for fall 22 and one for our class. I'll save this as sales woman commission IPO chart. And like I said, that's not part of our assignment. That's just a little bit of extra for us. Can't save it. It'll save eventually. I have slow connections sometimes. So I do need pseudocode. So let's create some pseudocode for this issue. I'm going to use Notepad. And in Notepad, I don't really have any fancy stuff, and that's okay. I'm all right with that. Let's start with a comment or two. We'll say this program is the sales woman commission. Calculate a commission amount. And I'll leave a blank comment. For this program, we need some variables. And we know that from our IPO chart, the variables that we need for input are our sales amount. And that is going to be, let's make that an integer. So we'll just ask for an integer value sales amount. Then our commission rate will also be an integer because we're going to divide it by 100 to make it into a percentage. And then our commission earned will be a floating point value, because it will have decimal values. Let's ask for input. So I want to use a write statement. And I want to write out, please enter the sales amount. I'm going to include a colon as a prompt and a space. After I write that message, I want to input whatever the user types in into my sales amount variable. Next, I'm going to prompt for the commission rate. My commission rate will be saved in the commission rate variable. Now I've got my input values. I can do my processing. My processing is my formula. I'm going to calculate commission earned. Oh, I need that set keyword. Set my commission earned equal to my sales amount times my commission rate divided by 100. So remember, when I take that rate and divide it by 100, that'll make it into a decimal value. And then I will multiply that times my sales amount. So if my sales amount were 100 and my commission rate were 20, I would expect my commission earned to be 20. After we've done our calculation, we're ready to output and we'll add a $sign to that. And then we'll concatenate commission variable. So our output statement will say the commission earned is a $sign and then our commission earned amount. So that finishes our pseudocode. Let's save that. Again, I'm going to save it in my H102 folder for my CIS120. And this will be chapter 3, sales woman commission pseudocode. It's going to save that as a text file. Perfect. So I've got my pseudocode. I'm ready to create my flowchart. I'm going to use mine Visio product. It's a drawing tool to create my flowchart. So I'm going to go to visio.office.com. So you can see that, visio.office.com. And you might have to log in with your OTC credentials. When you get to visio.office.com, you'll see that you can start a new drawing. We want to use the flowchart template for our drawing. So let's choose that. The Visio drawing tool starts up, and it's just like Microsoft's other products. I have my menu bar that opens my different toolbar ribbons. Underneath that, I have my shape library for shapes that I can place on my drawing. This piece of paper is my drawing object. So the first thing I need in my drawing is the begin symbol. So I'll use that, the start end. Now I want to put a word into that symbol. So first I can zoom in a little bit. I'm going to hold down my control key and use my wheel to scroll in to expand that Visio view. Once I've got it zoomed out in just a little bit, I'm going to double click on this symbol and that'll open it for me to type in a word. So we can say start or begin or whatever you like. Get zoomed in here a little bit so you can see it. Now, once I have started my flowchart, the first thing I want to do in my flowchart, if I refer to my pseudocode, is declare my variables. Sometimes we include that on our flowchart, sometimes we don't. Let's go ahead and use a process block to show that. I'm going to put it right under my start symbol. Notice how the green alignment lines help me line that up. I'm going to double click inside this box and say declare variables. Now I want a line to connect these two. So if I mouse over my start symbol, I see little gray arrow prompts. I'll click this one to draw the line with the arrow from this symbol to that symbol. So it just pops it in there, really handy. Okay, I've got my variables declared. The next thing I need to do in my pseudocode is prompt for input. The first input that I want is the sales amount. So I'll use my parallelogram symbol. Again, I'll line it up under my previous symbol. And in this one, I will prompt for sales amount. Just create an arrow there. And then I'm going to input the sales amount. And again, I want an arrow. After I prompt for the sales amount and input the sales amount, then I need the commission rate. For commission rate. And then input our commission rate. Get some arrows here. Now I've got all my input. I've declared my variables. I've prompted by writing out, and I've input reading data from the console, saving to my variables. Now I'm ready to do my processing formula. So I will set commission earned equal sales amount times our commission rate divided by 100. Now you can see that some of our variable names are pretty long, so our flowcharting symbol gets a little wordy, but that's okay. We still want it to be accurate. Now that we've got our commission earned calculated, we can output that to the screen. So let's write commission now in our flowchart, we could be much more specific. So I could include the actual prompts or not. Kind of depends on our conventions in our company. Now I need to end my flowchart with the end symbol, and I'll make sure my arrow goes down to that. All right, so let's see if I zoom back out, we should be able to see our whole flow chart. Looks good. We start out, declare our variables, prompt for sales amount, input our sales amount, data. We prompt for the commission rate, input our commission rate data. Then we do our formula and output our commission earned. So let me save this drawing. Chapter 3, saleswoman commission flowchart. And right now it's saying that it's going to save it in my documents folder. I want to put it into my CIS120 folder. And I'll put it there. And now I should be all set. I've got it saved on the cloud and in my OneDrive so that I can submit it to Canvas for my assignment. So that completes our assignment activity for this assignment. But in our chapter, they ask us to consider modular programming also. So I want to copy our pseudocode. I have it open here. I'm going to do a Control A to select all, then a Control C to copy. In Notepad, I'm going to choose File, New to create a new file, and I'm going to use Control V to paste. So now I have all of that pseudocode from our previous pseudocode. I want to change this a little bit to use modules. So I'm going to add to our comment that we're going to make this modular code. If I jump back to Visio, you don't have to, but you can. And I create a new Visio diagram. I'll use the flowchart template again. I can create a hierarchy chart for this. I'm going to have my main module. My main module is going to call my input, my process, and my output. That'll be exactly what I have going on here. Now I need to get some lines though. Right now I just have that one line. So I'm going to use my insert menu. And under my draw shape, I'll choose a line. And I'll draw it across. And then I'll add another line. Oops, gonna have to get a new one. And make it go, oh, come on, you silly line. Draw a line. Maybe if I start down here, oh, there we go. And then I draw another line. I have some arrows going up. Let me switch that. I can switch it with Visio. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to drag it. So I'm going to drag the arrow out and drag this end down here and this end up here. Wow, how is that for magic, huh? Just flip that thing around. If I were using the desktop version of Visio, I could do it in some other ways. But here with our cloud-based version, come on, arrow. We're a little limited. I'm going to Control Z. Get the end of the line. Come on, end of line. There we go. So not a perfect hierarchy chart, but close. So my main module, is going to call my input module, and my main module is going to call my process module, and my main module is going to call my output module. So I can zoom in and see that's a very simple hierarchy chart. I just need these 4 modules: my main module, my input, my process, and my output. So let me go back to my notepad document and let's add those in. I'm going to leave my variable declaration up at the top. And then I'm going to put in my main module comment for main module. And then we'll say begin main module. In our main module, we are going to, and I'm going to indent here, call our input module. Then we're going to call our process module. And then we're going to call our output module. Now that's going to be the end of our main module. I'll go ahead and put end main module. I don't know if they do that in our textbook, but it's very helpful. Notice how declaring the beginning and ending of our module is helpful, and indenting the lines of code within the module is also helpful. Okay, so this next thing then will be our input module, and that will end after we input the commission rate. So I'm going to select all these lines and push tab. Whoa, that's not what I wanted. Notepad wasn't very nice. I'm going to tab them over one at a time. It did not like me doing a block. That will be all of my input module. So now I can end that. And then our process module is very small. Begin process module. Indent, indent, and then the end of our process module. Next, the beginning of our output module. Indent, and indent, and end. So this is our pseudocode that has been revised to use modular programming. So notice the differences. We had to add this main module, our controller, because now it gets control from the system when our program begins, and it is responsible for calling our other modules. Each module will run when we hit the end. Control will return to our caller and continue on executing. So doing this modular format changes our pseudocode, but not really substantially. So I want you to notice that whether you're looking at things in a modular form or in a sequential form, like our first version of the pseudocode, you should be able to determine what's going on. Let's save this. So I will add modular pseudo to the end of this file name so that we have that as an example. Now, with our modular code, our flowchart would change a little bit too, wouldn't it? So let's look at that. I'll create another new Visio diagram. using the flowchart template. And this time, I'm just going to start with our main module. So here I would say main module. Again, let me zoom in on that a little bit. Now in our main module, we used calls. This symbol, the rectangle with the double lines, indicates a call. So I would say call input module, and then call output the process module, and then call output module. And then I would end my main module. Let me put some arrows. Arrow, 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 and arrow. So my flowchart now becomes little chunks, right? Also modular. So there's our main module. Let's start our input module. Begin input module. And in our input module, we prompted for sales amount. And then we read or input our sales amount. And then we prompted for our commission rate and input our commission rate. And that will be the end of our input module. Clean this up just a little bit. And some arrows. A little junkety here. Beautiful. So now we see that our flowchart has to just be modular also. What would our process have? Just the begin, our one process block that would show our formula, and then the end. And our output module would have our begin, our right, and our end. Save that. This would be chapter 3, saleswoman, commission, modular flowchart. And I'll find my location where I want to save that. Some people that feel comfortable working with modules can do things in a modular approach. If you are feeling more comfortable with the sequential code that doesn't include modules, that's fine also. We just want to do it one way or the other so that we're doing it correctly and matching our flowchart to our pseudocode. So either way is fine. As I mentioned, we'll just be working with pseudocode for a little while, and then we'll move forward into our C# code. So these concepts will be evolving for us. Thank you.